I married the perfect man. A male feminist who quoted bell hooks, did equal housework, and cried during romantic movies. He was everything I'd written think pieces about, everything I told women they should want. 6 months into our marriage, I couldn't stand to touch him. My name is Sarah, and this is the story of how I got exactly what I thought I wanted and discovered it repulsed me. How my feminist ideals collided with my actual desires in the most uncomfortable way possible. This is my confession about the day I realized that what I'd been preaching and what I actually felt were two completely different things. Let me tell you who I was before this. Who I thought I was. I was 32, a women's studies professor at a progressive university in Portland. I had a podcast about modern feminism with 50,000 listeners. I wrote a popular blog dissecting toxic masculinity, emotional labor, and the importance of men doing their share. My dating history was a graveyard of traditional men who I'd tried to fix. Men who expected me to do all the emotional labor. Men who made more money and acted like it gave them decision-making power. Men who did the bare minimum and expected praise. I'd write about each failed relationship in my blog. Why traditional masculinity is killing modern romance. The emotional labor imbalance is real. Women deserve partners, not projects. My followers loved it. They'd share their own stories of men who didn't pull their weight, who didn't understand feminism, who expected women to be their mothers and therapists and maids. And I'd preach the same message over and over: women need to find evolved men. Men who've done the work. Men who understand feminism and actively practice it. Men who see us as true equals. Then I met David at a progressive activism fundraiser in 2022. He was 34, a high school English teacher, soft-spoken and thoughtful. Within 10 minutes of conversation, he was quoting Gloria Steinem and discussing emotional intelligence. I'd been in therapy for 6 years, he told me over wine. Working on unlearning patriarchal conditioning. It's a constant process. I was intrigued. Finally, a man who got it. Our first date lasted 6 hours. We discussed feminism, gender roles, the importance of men doing their emotional work. He told me about his journey from traditional masculinity to feminist ally. I used to be that guy, he admitted. Expected my ex-girlfriend to manage everything emotional while I just showed up. Took her years of frustration before I realized I was the problem. Now I'm committed to being different. I fell hard. This was it. This was the evolved man I'd been waiting for. He did everything right. He texted consistently without being clingy. He planned thoughtful dates. He asked about my feelings and actually listened. He read the articles I sent him about feminism and engaged deeply with them. 3 months in, he surprised me by having read my entire blog archive. Your piece on emotional labor changed how I see relationships, he said earnestly. I want to be the kind of partner you deserve. I thought I'd won the lottery. We moved in together after 8 months. He did exactly half of everything. We had a literal spreadsheet for chores. He meal planned his nights. He cleaned without being asked. He remembered important dates. He went to therapy weekly and actually did the work. My friends were jealous. You found a unicorn, they'd say. I'd write blog posts celebrating him. What dating an actual feminist man looks like. Yes, evolved men exist, here's how to find them. We got engaged after 1.5 years. He proposed with a long speech about partnership and equality. The ring was ethically sourced. He'd asked my best friend for input but made clear the choice was ultimately mine. Perfect. Everything was perfect. We got married in September 2023. Small ceremony, we wrote our own vows about equal partnership. I promised to never expect him to fulfill traditional masculine roles. He promised to always do his emotional work. My wedding blog post went viral. I married a male feminist and it proves they exist. I had no idea what was coming. The first month of marriage was fine. Good, even. We settled into our routine. Our equal routine. David would wake up and immediately check our shared calendar. Okay, it's Tuesday, so I'm making breakfast and you're doing dinner. I'll do the grocery run today since you did it Sunday. Sound good? Perfect, I'd say. Everything was scheduled. Everything was equal. Everything was fair. But somewhere around week 6, something started bothering me. Something I couldn't quite name. We were having dinner, his turn to cook, he'd made a beautiful vegetarian pasta, and he was telling me about his feelings. Again. I've been processing some anxiety about my mother, he said. In therapy today, we discussed how her expectations shaped my fear of disappointing women. I'm wondering if that's coming up in our relationship. Are you seeing that? I don't think so, I said. But if you do, I want you to tell me. I want to be aware of my patterns. I never want you to feel like you can't share when I'm falling into old behaviors. I will. Because it's so important to me that we maintain open communication. My therapist says that's the foundation of. David, I interrupted, can we just eat dinner? He looked hurt. Of course. I just want to make sure we're processing things together. I felt guilty immediately. This was what I wanted, wasn't it? A man who cared about feelings? Who wanted to process emotions? But there was this tiny voice in my head saying, I don't want to be his therapist. I pushed it down. That was internalized patriarchy talking. This was healthy. This was good. Week 8, I came home exhausted from a difficult day at work. My department head had undermined me in a meeting and I was furious. That's terrible, David said, immediately sitting down and giving me his full attention. How are you feeling about it? Let's process this. I'm just angry. That's valid. Your anger is completely valid. Do you want to talk about where you're feeling it in your body? I stared at him. What? Your anger. Are you feeling it in your chest? Your throat? My therapist taught me this technique for locating. David, I don't want to locate my anger. I just want to be angry for a minute. Of course. I'm sorry. I'm trying to support you, but I'm probably overstepping. Is that what's happening? Tell me if I'm. Can you just? I stopped myself. Never mind. That night, I realized what was bothering me. I wanted him to be angry with me. I wanted him to say, that's bullshit, your department head is an ass. I wanted him to match my energy, not process it. But that wasn't fair, was it? I'd literally written articles about how men needed to stop trying to fix everything and just listen. Except David wasn't trying to fix anything. He was just, so much. So present. So processing. All the time. Month 3, we were having sex less. I noticed it. He definitely noticed it. Hey, he said one night, I've noticed we haven't been intimate as much lately. I want to check in. Are you okay? Is something wrong? Did I do something? No, I'm just tired from work. Okay. But I want you to know I'm here if you need to talk about it. Sometimes decreased intimacy can indicate underlying relationship issues. I've been reading this book about. And there it was. That feeling. That knot in my stomach that I'd been ignoring for weeks. I wasn't attracted to him anymore. This man who did everything right. Who was thoughtful and considerate and emotionally available. Who was literally the man I'd told thousands of women to find. I couldn't stand the thought of sleeping with him. I started making excuses. Headaches. Fatigue. Too much work stress. He accepted every excuse with understanding and concern. Take all the time you need, he'd say. Your comfort is what matters most. Which somehow made it worse. Month 4, we had a fight. Well, I had a fight. He had a conversation about feelings. I'd had a terrible day. My research grant got rejected. I'd gotten a parking ticket. I'd spilled coffee on my favorite shirt. I came home ready to rant. David was making dinner, his night, and humming along to a podcast about emotional wellness. "How was your day?" he asked cheerfully. "Awful. Just completely awful." "Oh no. Do you want to talk about it?" And something in me snapped. "Can you just once not be so fucking understanding?" He stopped stirring the pan. "What?" "I don't want to talk about it in a healthy way. I don't want to process it. I just want to be pissed off, and I want you to be pissed off with me." "Okay," he said carefully. "I can do that. I'm pissed off that you had a bad day?" It sounded like a question. Like he was asking permission to have feelings. "Never mind," I said and locked myself in our bedroom. 20 minutes later, he knocked softly. "Sarah? I want to give you space, but I also want to make sure we're okay. Can we talk about what happened?" "I don't want to talk." "That's okay. But when you're ready, I'm here. And I want to acknowledge that I clearly triggered something for you. I'd like to understand what I did so I can." "David," I yelled. "Can you please just be angry at me for yelling at you? Can you please stop being so fucking understanding for 5 minutes?" Silence. "Then, I don't think it's healthy for me to perform anger if I'm not actually feeling it." "Perform anger?" He thought anger was a performance. I didn't leave the bedroom for 3 hours. Month 5, I started having dreams about my ex, Marcus. Marcus, who I'd dated 5 years ago and broken up with because he was too traditional. Marcus, who'd been a firefighter with old-school ideas about gender roles. Marcus, who'd never once asked me to process my feelings. In my dreams, Marcus would pin me against a wall and kiss me without asking for consent first. He'd make decisions without consulting the shared calendar. He'd be jealous and possessive and completely unwoke. And I'd wake up soaking wet. I felt disgusted with myself. What was wrong with me? I was a feminist. I'd built my entire career on advocating for evolved men. And here I was fantasizing about toxic masculinity? I tried to push it down. This was just conditioning. Years of patriarchal programming making me crave dominance. I needed to unpack this in therapy. So I went to therapy. My therapist, a woman I'd been seeing for 2 years, listened carefully. "It sounds like you're experiencing a disconnect between your intellectual values and your emotional desires," she said. "But that's not okay. I can't desire things that contradict my values. Sarah, human sexuality is complex. It's not always politically correct. But I should be attracted to David. He's perfect. He's everything I said I wanted. What you said you wanted, or what you actually want." I left therapy angry. At her. At myself. At the universe for making this so complicated. That night, I tried to initiate sex with David. I thought maybe if I just pushed through, the attraction would come back. We were on the couch watching TV, a documentary about climate change he'd chosen from our fair rotation system, and I kissed him. "Oh," he said, pleasantly surprised. "Hi." "Hi." I kissed him again, trying to feel something. "Anything." "Is this okay?" he whispered. "Do you want to move to the bedroom?" "Yes." In bed, he was attentive and careful. "Is this good? What do you need? Should I?" "David, please stop talking." "Sorry. I just want to make sure you're enjoying." I couldn't do it. I rolled away. "I'm sorry. I can't." "That's okay. Consent can be withdrawn at any time. Do you want to talk about what?" "No." I was crying now. "I don't want to talk about it." He respected my space. Went to sleep in the guest room without protest. Left me a note in the morning saying he loved me and was there when I was ready. I sat on the kitchen floor and read that note and felt absolutely nothing. I couldn't tell anyone what I was going through. How could I? I'd built my entire platform on finding evolved men. I'd gotten married 6 months ago and written about how perfect it was. I had thousands of women looking to me for advice. What was I supposed to say? Actually, feminist men are unattractive? That would destroy everything I'd built. It would validate every men's rights activist who'd ever criticized me. But I was dying inside. I started noticing other men. Men who weren't evolved. The contractor who came to fix our sink and made decisions without consulting me. My colleague who interrupted me in meetings but somehow made my heart race. The bartender who was cocky and arrogant and made me laugh. I felt like a fraud. A hypocrite. Everything I'd accused other women of being when they chose bad boys over nice guys. I tried talking to David about needing more passion in our relationship. I think we've gotten too comfortable, I said carefully. Maybe we need more spontaneity? Absolutely, he agreed immediately. Let's put together a plan for incorporating more spontaneous activities. What if we schedule one unplanned date night per week? That's not what spontaneous means. Right. Sorry. What are you thinking? I don't know. Maybe just do something without planning it? He looked genuinely confused. But how will we ensure it's equitable if we don't plan it? I wanted to scream. I tried suggesting he be more assertive. What if sometimes you just made the decision about where to eat? I suggested. Instead of always asking me. But I don't want to assume I know what you want. What if you just picked something you want? What I want is for you to have what you want. It was like talking to a wall. A very considerate, emotionally intelligent wall. Month 6, I went to visit my best friend Rachel. She'd been married for 3 years to a guy I'd always privately considered kind of a caveman. He worked in construction, made crude jokes, and never once discussed emotional labor. But watching them together, I saw something that made my chest hurt. He walked in from work, grabbed Rachel, and kissed her hard. Missed you, he growled. She melted into him, laughing. You saw me 6 hours ago. Too long. There was hunger there. Raw desire. Chemistry that crackled. Later, Rachel and I talked in her kitchen. Can I ask you something? I said. Are you happy? Deliriously. Why? He's not. I mean, he doesn't seem very woke? Rachel laughed. He's not. He thinks my feminist theory books are boring. He makes decisions without consulting me. He's probably a therapist's nightmare. And that doesn't bother you? Sarah, I spent my 20s dating sensitive guys who wanted to process everything. You know what I learned? I don't want to process. I want to feel. But that's not feminist. Maybe not. But it's honest. The end came on a random Tuesday. David and I were having our weekly relationship check-in. Yes, we scheduled those. So, he said, consulting his notes, he took notes. Last week you mentioned wanting more spontaneity. I've been thinking about how we can incorporate that while maintaining equity. What if we? David, I'm not attracted to you anymore. The words came out before I could stop them. He set down his notebook. Oh. I'm sorry. I've been trying. I've been trying so hard to feel what I'm supposed to feel. But I don't. I can't. Okay. His voice was shaking. Can we talk about what changed? Was it something I did? No. That's the problem. You did everything right. You're perfect. You're literally everything I said I wanted. But I don't want it. I was crying now. I don't want perfect. I don't want someone who asks my consent for every kiss and processes every feeling and splits every chore exactly 50-50. I want someone who just acts. Who wants me enough to be irrational about it. Who makes me feel something other than safe. I make you feel safe? He sounded hurt. That's all you make me feel. Safe and comfortable and like we're co-parenting our relationship instead of living it. But this is what you said you wanted. You wrote articles about this. You told me. I know what I said. I was almost shouting. I know what I wrote. And I meant it. I thought I meant it. But knowing something intellectually and feeling it are two different things. So what are you saying? I'm saying I don't know if I can do this. We sat in silence for a long time. Then David said something that surprised me. I've been unhappy too. I looked up. What? Being this person. It's exhausting. Constantly monitoring myself. Always asking permission. Never just being. Then why do you do it? Because I thought it's what you needed. What would make you love me? His voice broke. I spent 6 years in therapy learning to be this person because my ex told me I was too much. Too aggressive. Too traditional. And then I met you and you seemed to confirm that. So I became what I thought you wanted. But it's not who you are. I don't know who I am anymore. I've been so focused on being evolved that I forgot to be real. We both cried. And for the first time in months, I felt actually connected to him. David and I separated the next month. We're in the process of getting divorced. My followers were shocked. What happened? You were perfect together. I couldn't tell them the truth. Not yet. I took a hiatus from blogging and podcasting. Said I needed time to process. But I've been doing a lot of thinking. A lot of uncomfortable thinking. I spent years advocating for evolved men. And I still think evolution is important. Men should share housework. They should be emotionally available. They should see women as equals. But somewhere in my advocacy, I'd confused evolved with neutered. I promoted an ideal of masculinity that had no edge, no tension, no polarity. I wanted men to be softer, but I didn't realize that softness was all I'd be left with. The thing I couldn't admit, even to myself, was that I wanted contradiction. I wanted a man who was feminist in his values but still masculine in his energy. Who believed in equality but could still take charge. Who was emotionally intelligent but didn't process every single feeling to death. I wanted someone who could switch between partner and lover, between equal and pursuer, between safe and exciting. But I'd been so busy preaching one way of being that I'd eliminated the possibility of complexity. I also realized something else. I'd been performing feminism instead of living it. Real feminism should allow women to want what they want without shame. Even if what they want doesn't align perfectly with theory. Even if it includes some traditionally feminine desires like wanting to be pursued or wanting masculine energy. But I'd been so invested in the performance, in being the perfect feminist, in having the perfect feminist relationship, that I'd ignored what I actually felt. I'm 33 years old, getting divorced, and rebuilding my entire worldview. Here's what I'm learning. You can't intellectualize attraction. You can't decide what turns you on based on political correctness. Your body wants what it wants, and shaming yourself for that doesn't change it. There's a difference between evolved men and emasculated men. One has done the work to overcome toxic masculinity while maintaining healthy masculine energy. The other has eliminated all masculine traits in an attempt to be acceptable. I was dating David's performance of feminism, not David. And he was performing for my approval, not being authentic. We were both playing roles instead of being real. Women can be feminists and still want polarity in relationships. Polarity isn't about inequality. It's about complementary energies that create attraction. You can have equal partnerships that still have masculine and feminine dynamics. The most important lesson, you can't build a relationship on ideology alone. Values matter, but so does chemistry, desire, and authentic expression. I'd tried to create a relationship based entirely on correct politics, and it was dead from the start. I'm starting to date again. Slowly. Carefully. I'm not looking for traditional men or evolved men. I'm looking for authentic men. Men who have done their work but aren't performing their evolution. Men who believe in equality but aren't afraid of their masculine energy. Men who can be both safe and exciting, both partner and pursuer. And I'm being more honest with myself about what I actually want instead of what I think I should want. I'm also rebuilding my platform. Not abandoning feminism, but complicating it. Writing about the messy reality of desire and politics. Acknowledging that women's sexuality is more complex than theory allows. Some of my followers are angry. They feel betrayed. You're setting feminism back, they say. But others are relieved. Thank you for saying this, they message me. I thought I was the only one who felt this way. If you're a woman dating in the modern world, please hear this: you're allowed to want what you want, even if it's not politically correct. You can be a feminist and still want masculine energy. You can believe in equality and still want to be pursued. You can support evolved men and still need someone with an edge. Your desires aren't betraying your values. They're just human. If you're a man trying to figure out what women want, I'm sorry for the mixed messages. The truth is, we want you to be real more than we want you to be perfect. We want authenticity more than performance. Don't become someone you're not to please us. Work on being better, yes, but don't eliminate core parts of yourself in the process. If you're someone who built a relationship on ideology instead of connection, I see you. It's okay to admit it's not working. It's okay to want more than correctness. I learned the hard way that attraction isn't a political choice. Chemistry isn't something you can decide based on values. You can have all the right beliefs and still end up in a dead bedroom because you forgot that humans need more than ideological compatibility. I'm Sarah, and I'm learning, at 33, that sometimes the most feminist thing you can do is be honest about what you actually feel, even when it contradicts what you think you should feel. My marriage failed, but I'm finally free to pursue something real. Have you ever experienced a disconnect between what you thought you wanted and what you actually needed? How did you handle it? Share your story in the comments, and subscribe for more honest conversations about relationships, feminism, and the complicated truth about desire.